everybody. Welcome to Find Your Fit with Deanna. I'm Deanna. And today, as you might be able to tell, it is approaching the holiday season where I am and what my family celebrates. We do celebrate Christmas. And so this is something that might be a little different today in terms of what you expect, I might say, on a fitness podcast about what to plan for yourself and your schedule around. It doesn't, of course, have to be Christmas, whatever holiday you might celebrate, whatever time you feel a real shift in busyness, maybe more social engagements, or maybe work is busier, whatever the case is. So although I'm going to be talking about the holidays in terms of around Christmas time, I want you to think about that and how that would apply to you. So there are three things I'm going to challenge you with today. One, of course, is looking ahead. So I am recording this in the end of November. And so we're about a month out of the actual day in terms of celebrating Christmas. However, things start to sort of hit fast forward at this point. So what I'm inviting for you to do is considering three things. One, yes, I want you to plan your movement. You knew that was coming. And so looking ahead at the calendar, what does it look like from now, whenever you're watching this, until the holiday time is sort of coming to a close for you? Second, there are two things I really want to challenge you with this holiday season. That is finding time. Don't scroll away as soon as I say this, and don't roll your eyes. Stay with me. Finding time to plan intentional rest and figuring out a way to prioritize your sleep. Because although I am a fitness professional, I also spend a lot of time wellness coaching folks. And so if you have time for one thing and one thing only, many people assume that I'm like, oh, go for a walk and get movement and lift weights. And those are great things, of course. And if you only have time for one thing, I want you to look at your sleep. Because if we can add more sleep, not only in hours, minutes, etc., but also in quality of sleep, we actually will positively impact other things. So for this holiday season, I want you to think about, first of all, let's start with that intentional rest. What I want you to find in your calendar, and I'm a big fan of time management, because if we don't plan these things, they tend not to happen. And so I have found over the years, people sort of fall into two general ways they like to manage their time and schedule things. And one I call like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday way, meaning, and this, yes, comes from fitness programming, but meaning they want to plan their workout on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever. They want a specific day, a specific time. What's the thing? And there's a lot of value to that. Lots of research tells us that works. And it doesn't work for everybody. It's one way. So think about that. Are you somebody that likes to have things planned in? I currently have a neighbor outside with a leaf blower. Hopefully you can't hear too much of that. He's a lovely neighbor, by the way. But what I want you to think about is does the Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing work for you? Or are you kind of a checklist person? And what I mean is you're looking at on Sunday or whatever day the sort of week begins for you, you're looking at that week ahead and saying, I know I want to, let's say, be active 5 times this week. And I'm going to get into each day and I'll take the opportunity when it presents itself. And I'll tick off, yes, one of the 5 I did today. Oh, the next day, maybe that didn't work. The following day, I just found a time and I ticked that off. So, and there's lots of variation in between, but sort of that's where I have found over all these decades of programming for fitness that when we look at trying to have things to do that we're adding to our calendar and changing that behavior, either in your calendar on a particular day and time is the thing, or just knowing what you got to plug in and seizing that opportunity when it presents itself. So that can be the first thing to think about. So when I talk about intentional rest, folks, here's what I see. We have more downtime than we think we do, but I want you to think about how you spend your downtime. And so, if you have little ones, a busy job, I empathize, and I have been there. And so sometimes it's like, oh, that's easy for her to say. I have older kids, but remember, my older kids were once little kids. And I remember that working full time, having, a partner that worked night shift, having 2 under 2. I remember those days, and they're hard. And every stage and age of life has its own challenges. So it's not a competition to see who's suffering most, right? It is to say what is possible for you. And the life coach in me would like to talk to you about that frame mindset, if that's how you frame things of like, oh, this is awful and that's awful. And, how can I sort of wallow in that really difficult stuff? That doesn't actually get us anywhere, right? Acknowledge those things are difficult. And what else can we do? So I'm inviting you to take action today. So in the intentional rest, I want you to think about how often you pause. You might physically sit down, you might be standing in the kitchen, waiting for a pot to boil, whatever the case is, and start scrolling on your phone. Because here's the thing, we have replaced actual downtime and time of what is called non-doing, non-triggering your brain to be always on. We've replaced it with scrolling. And folks, that is not actually rest time. Your brain is still, looking for those dopamine hits and still getting those rewards. And that's where that scrolling addiction really comes from. So I want you to think about during your day, when are the times when you pick up your phone and start to scroll? And I would love for you to consider making that an intentional rest time. Put the phone down and just pause. Now, this is going to be really uncomfortable. If you are really addicted to your phone, which most people are, and so it's not just the younger generation, right? So I'm approaching 50 and you know what? It's the automatic thing, right? And so there are many people and algorithms, all that actually train. That's the purpose in life, is to get us to be addicted to that. And so I want you to think about, put that phone down. You're going to be a little bit uncomfortable. What are you going to do in that moment? I want you to think about exhaling, maybe some deep breathing, and what else can you bring to mind, or what else can you focus on? So here are a couple of ideas. I'm talking 5 minutes, folks. That's it. I want you to, if you got more time, great. And I don't know that you do at this point. So I want you to find 5 minutes of rest, intentional rest. And maybe it is, you're standing in the kitchen waiting for the pot to boil, stand there and watch that water. What do you notice? What does it sound like? Does it smell like anything? What does it look like? Is it nice and warm? Or maybe, lots of folks often will have maybe a candle burning in their dining room, let's say, and put your phone down and go and watch that flame. Some other folks, you may be in the middle of toddler life, baby life, etc. And here's what I want you to do. When that little baby you tuck in, or that little one crawls up and sits in your lap, close your eyes and inhale and exhale. And where's that great baby smell, right? Where does your kiddo's shampoo smell like? Or if you notice they need a bath, I don't know. I really want you to think about closing your eyes and exhaling, even if only for 5 minutes. That's my first challenge for you. My second challenge for you this holiday season is to think about how you're going to prioritize your sleep. And nothing just happens. That's where we make a mistake. If you're thinking, I'm going to try to get more fit, you think, oh my goodness, I better start scheduling things in, right? You have to do that with something like fitness. You can't just show up to the doctor. You have to create a plan and an appointment. So I want you to think about that with something like sleep. We all can use more sleep, better quality sleep. Adults, older adults, younger kids, teenagers, young adults, we can all use more sleep, and better quality sleep. So what, with intention, will you do to prioritize your sleep? So think about, and I know not everybody's in charge of their own sleep. I know you have little ones that wake you, and I want you to find, again, within what life looks like for you right now, how can you begin to prioritize your sleep? And so if your let's say your kids are off school for the 2 weeks, or you've got a little bit of time off of work, whatever the case is, well, in that week, can you choose like one night that you go to bed when your kids go to bed? And so Don't come at me and be like, but I have all these things to do. I know you have things to do. You know what? You are always going to have things to do. We always have things to do. This is why I want you to think about how you're going to prioritize your sleep. Because imagine if we can start sleeping better, you know, all those things that you run yourself ragged doing in the evening after the kids go to bed. And I actually, when willing to bet, it's probably not really productive anyway, because there's probably a lot of like talking yourself out of things, thinking about how you're exhausted, scrolling on your phone because you're trying to avoid all those dishes. Like, I get it. Imagine if we had a little bit more sleep, how things might look different at a different time of the next day. And one of the strategies for a lot of folks, they'll say when they're trying to have a bit more time for themselves, they're trying to work out in particular, is often, I'm going to get up earlier. Great. But that means you have to go to bed earlier, right? We have this strange notion that we can just encroach on our time in the morning, but where does that time, like you still need to sleep, right? So what does that look like the night before? There's no right answer here, folks. I just want to throw some things out there and really get you thinking about how you're going to spend some intentional rest time this holiday season. I know it's bananas. It doesn't need to be bananas. How much are we buying into the bananas, right? How much are we putting on ourselves that we don't need to? Where could we say no to more things? And here's something for you to think about. I was listening to a podcast the other day with Dr. Gabor Mate. If you haven't explored his work, you must. And he was talking about saying no and how it's a great episode with him and Mel Robbins. So it's on Mel Robbins' podcast. Go and have Mel, M-E-L Robbins. And so go and have a listen to that if you have an opportunity. And he was talking about the connection between people pleasing, being programmed to always be doing everything for everybody else, and things such as ADHD and autoimmune disease. And so who falls into a lot of those categories? Women, right? Because we are programmed to be doing everything for everybody else. So it was very interesting to listen to that whole podcast. But one of the things he said is like, why are you not saying no? What do you need to say no to? And then he said, and it's like, okay, this, that, and the other. And then he said, what are you not saying yes to? I.e., your kiddo asks you to play and I know you have a million things to do. And honestly, like I'm on the other side of young kiddos. And you know what? The dishes can wait. Like go and find the middle ground, right? To say, I'm not saying yes to joy and playing with my kids, right? Because I have all these other things to do. What can you say no to allow you to say yes to your kids, right? So got it a little bit heavy, all the things to think about this holiday season, right? But I really want you to take care of you, and not because you have an obligation to take care of other people. I'm going to say that again. You don't have to take care of you because it'll make you a better mom, partner, etc., etc. You deserve to just simply take care of you because you deserve to be taken care of. All right, I am cheering you on to make a little bit of time for yourself, whatever that looks like. If you happen to not make time for yourself, don't beat yourself up about it, right? There's always tomorrow. Cheering you on. We'll see you soon.